Welcome to a new fantasy adventure on Dreamscape. Immerse yourself in a world of fantasy and adventure with this exciting short story. We accompany a young heroine on her dangerous mission in a medieval world full of magic and mysticism. The biggest gesture you can give me is a like. If you like my stories, feel free to leave a subscription and activate the bell so you don't miss any more stories. Well then, let's dive into the story. Rhea's daring dungeon rescue. The night lay still and clear over the battlements of the fortress when a figure crept silently across the courtyard. It was the young thief Rhea who had crept into the heavily guarded walls to free her mentor Baldur. Rhea slipped cautiously from shadow to shadow, careful not to make the slightest noise. Baldur had been incarcerated in this dungeon a moon ago, accused of stealing an artifact. But Rhea knew he was innocent. Rhea gingerly slipped past the guards, who were doing their rounds with bored expressions on their faces. No one noticed the shadow that glided silently past them. Rhea's pulse quickened. Soon she would be at the cells. There, in front of her, lay the entrance to the dungeon, guarded only by a single guard. Rhea drew an arrow containing a sleeping drug from her quiver and placed it on the string. Aimed, shot, hit. The guard slumped silently. Rhea hurried down the steps into the damp darkness of the dungeons.
Baldur?
She whispered softly. A cough came from one of the cells.
Rhea? Is that you?
There was incredulous joy in the voice. With a pick, Rhea opened the lock of Baldur's cell. The friends hugged warmly. But the escape had not yet succeeded. You had to hurry. They quietly crept back the way. But suddenly voices and marching steps echoed from the courtyard. The guards changed. Rhea and Baldur scurried into a dark alcove while the new wardens came down the stairs. It was close. Time was pressing, but now the way up was blocked. Liberation would soon be noticed.
I know another way out,
whispered Baldur.
Follow me.
They crept down a narrow passage. At the end, Baldur opened a trapdoor that smelled musty. Apparently a sewer. Without hesitation, Rhea and Baldur climbed inside. It was her only chance. They waded through the tunnel in the dim light of a lantern. Now and then a rat scurried by. Rhea shivered. Hope Baldur guided them correctly. Already they heard excited shouts. The flight had been noticed. After an eternity, the canal emptied into an outlet on the city wall. Starlight greeted the two fugitives. You made it. They quickly left the castle. Rhea was happy to have freed her mentor. The next morning they rested deep in the forest.
You have shown courage and skill,
Baldur praised her.
The perfect qualities for a master thief.
Rhea smiled proudly. Her next adventure would be waiting soon, but now it was time to relax. Unfortunately, the calm was not to last. By noon they were tracked down by a patrol of royal guards. Apparently, the escape of the prisoners had been reported and a search had been initiated. Rhea and Baldur jumped up quickly.
Quick! We have to flee!
Baldur shouted, pulling Rhea with him. They ran through the trees, followed by the angry shouts of the guards. Arrows whizzed through the air. Panting, they made their way through the thicket. Thorns tore at their clothes, branches whipped them. But the guards were slowly catching up. Rhea felt panic rising inside her. Would they escape? Suddenly Baldur stumbled and fell to the ground. One of the pursuers hit him in the thigh with an arrow. Rhea immediately knelt by him to stop the bleeding. But the guards came closer.
Run, Rhea! Save yourself!
Baldur gasped, pale with pain. But Rhea shook her head.
I won't leave you behind.
She looked around desperately. How could they escape from this situation? Then she saw a cart parked near the road. She helped Baldur over and hit him underneath.
Keep still.
She whispered. Soon the cursing guards came up and ran on. You lost her. Relieved, Rhea tended Baldur's wound as best she could. Together they would find a safe place to hide. The flight wasn't over yet, but their friendship gave them strength. Hand in hand, they set off, ready for the next adventure. For days they wandered through the woods, always afraid of being discovered again. Baldur's wound became infected and he developed a fever. Rhea was desperate. How was she supposed to save him? One night their campfire was approached by an old man in a hood. Rhea suspiciously reached for her dagger, but the stranger held up his hands in reassurance.
I mean you no harm.
He said in a hoarse voice.
I have herbs with me that can help your friend.
Rhea hesitated, but when she heard Baldur's ragged breathing, she agreed. In fact, Baldur's condition improved rapidly after taking the herbs. Rhea was relieved.
How can I thank you?
She asked the old man. He smiled mildly.
Only help others in need if you can.
Then he moved on. After a few days, Baldur was able to walk again. They continued on their way, always on guard. But the danger seemed averted. Finally they found an abandoned cabin deep in the forest where they took refuge. Here they could calmly make new plans for their next pranks and adventures.